broken and bloodied, but unbowed. And I'm sure we'll be ready for next year to take on Santa Claus and give him the proper beatdown he deserves. But in the meantime, up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, on December 19th, the Freedom from Religion Foundation and Justin Vakula, who is the founder of the NEPA Free Thought Society, put up a billboard in, it's a banner really, in one of the Wilkes-Barre common areas. They have this free speech display for any religious organization to, if they pay the requisite, any organization really, if they pay the requisite fee, to go ahead and mount a display. And so on December 19th, the FFRF and Justin Vakula put up a display, and on December 20th, while the press was interviewing the public for reactions to the billboard, a young man named Joe McDonald climbed a display for the billboard and cut the ropes holding the billboard so that it was hanging off of the scaffolding. You can see right now on the TV screen. I wonder if that was to prevent vandalism or to make it so that it was harder to read the message. But in any case, regardless of the reason, Joe McDonald on camera in front of a media crew committed vandalism to cut the ropes and cause the banner to just be unviewable. And then in its place, he hung a American flag, which object to that kind of display, but, well, at least the American flag display. But there's some things to keep in mind here, that there is no doubt that this is vandalism. The man committed the crime in full view of the public on camera. I don't think he's going to be charged with vandalism.
He should be.
He should be charged with vandalism. But what he is being charged with, it's my understanding that he is being charged with, I think, criminal mischief and
some other really minor charge.
Minor charges. Disorderly conduct, I think, is the other charge. But imagine, if you will, the double standard here. If anybody, whether atheist or non-Christian in any way, shape, or form, or even Christian, went and vandalized a nativity scene or any other religious display, there would be an outcry from the community. People would be up in arms, and there would be chaos. People would not take that well. They would not at all. And I'm not advocating for that kind of criminal behavior. Just to be clear. But what happened here is pretty outrageous. I mean, now the follow-up to this is, as I said, the same day Joe McDonald committed this crime, Justin Vakula, as did his civic duty, went to the police and filed a report. It took over 10 days for the city of Wilkes-Barre to react to that report in any way, shape, or form. In the meantime, this person went without any kind of fine or anything. Wasn't arrested.
Like 10 days.
10 days.
10 days. Think about that. 10 days he just got away with it. I mean, he was on camera. They saw him do it, but they didn't get arrested, didn't get charged for 10 days.
Right. Now, so imagine someone who isn't a Christian going to a public display and vandalizing the display on camera. Now, and I'm not even talking about a security camera where somebody has to review footage and
it was a TV crew. It was a TV crew
on the news filming a crime. Okay, that's right, filming a crime on camera. And it took them 10 days to actually file charges on this guy.
And that was only because of pressure.
And that was only because of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on their website, phone calls, things like that, to the mayor's office to do something about it. But, you know, I spoke with a gentleman with the PHRC a couple weeks ago about this case, because he had what had happened was there are people who, the PHRC is the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, and they're charged with dealing with issues of, you know, hate crimes, discrimination, things like that. And they try to make things right before they go to court, or they will using their, you know, tax, they using their money, they will go and take people to court to fight discrimination cases in Pennsylvania. And they cover the whole state of Pennsylvania. And one of the people, I know one of the gentlemen who, I know directly one of the guys who works for the PHRC, and he contacted me and telling me that he was going to file this information in his report, and he'd asked me to follow up with their legal counsel. And I spoke with him, the legal counsel, about this situation. And when I did, I told him, this is the biggest problem with this case. What you've got here is a government entity, the city of Wilkes-Barre, telling the public that it is okay to vandalize a display that you don't like, because it's not important. It's not important to actually do something about this kind of crime because you dislike the message. Now think about that. Because you dislike the message in this country, because you dislike the message, it's okay to go commit a crime.
It goes completely against the First Amendment that we have.
Oh, yeah.
We have the freedom of speech, and we should not have to worry about somebody just trying to stifle any type of free
rights
speech.
to property and
rights to property.
And all sorts of things. I mean, this is, you know, people can't go into your house and destroy your stuff. They can't just, if you put something on public display, it's still your property.
It is.
And it could be called littering or anything else if it's not done correctly, but if you're permitted to put up a display, it is your property. And to have your property damaged or altered or destroyed by somebody else is a crime.
I would also love to know if the TV crew in any way tried to dissuade this young man from doing what he did.
I'm sure with their cameras there filming exactly what's going on, that it, you know, if the guy was trying to put on a show for the TV, you know, whether they would claim that they were trying to dissuade him or not, obviously they gave him a forum for committing his crime. You know, imagine if it was a more serious crime and you had a TV crew filming you committing the crime. You know, imagine that the outrage in the community as to the TV crew not doing anything to stop, like calling the police. Right. You know, if you sit there and you watch somebody commit a crime, you know, shouldn't you call the police? You know,
you would think. I mean, that would be my most logical thing. If I was a member of a TV crew, and say they were standing from some sort of shop, and this person was complaining, I don't like this shop, and I saw him go pick up a brick, and I get the impression he's going to throw it through the window. Right. I would say, what are you doing? Stop what you're doing. And if he threw it through the window, I would say, I'm calling the police. But apparently, maybe I'm wrong, I didn't know what they did, but I would think they would try to dissuade him from doing that, other than just standing there filming and say, oh, look, he's all upset and he's tearing down that sign and putting up a flag. I don't understand that at all. I mean, it's just like you're being an accessory to a crime. Right.
Well, I don't know if that is in fact the case for those situations, but it's certainly surprising, and it's pretty disturbing. But there it is. You know, 10 days to solve a crime where all the evidence is right in front of you, and all you have to do is send somebody out to deliver it, or even send it in the mail. You know, drop a letter in the mail with a fine attached. You know,
it's so obvious. I mean, it was just so blatant, and a lot of people just didn't care. It was like, oh well, they destroyed an atheist display, and you know, so what? But you have freedom of speech in this country. You cannot stifle free speech. You cannot, you know, go and shout people down and things.
Well, you can actually.
Well, okay, but
Yeah, but
I mean, you can't really prevent somebody from speaking. You can't.
Right.
If somebody wants in an open forum to speak, you really can't.
Well, to be clear, the way the freedom of speech works, to be clear, so that everybody understands, freedom of speech is a right that an individual has to speak without government interference. I mean,
Right.
that's what freedom of speech is related to. Now, a lot of people will refer to a moral right to the freedom of speech, in that the ideals of freedom of speech mean that it's morally improper to interfere with somebody's ability to speak. You know, but that is more of a moral right. But the issue at play, just to be clear, so that we understand, is that it is that of property. I mean, your property is, nobody has a right to destroy your property.
Right.
I don't have the right to go over and tear your shirt up because I don't like it. I don't have the right to take your phone and stomp it on the ground because I hate its ringtone. You know, but that's exactly what's going on here. You know, it's just a different scale. You know, a phone is more expensive than a display, certainly, but by the same token, you know, it is somebody's property. And you're damaging somebody's property, and that's wrong, and that is clearly illegal to do that. And as far as speech is concerned, of course, it's you know, you have Christian displays up, you have other things that are in the public eye here, and you know, it is morally fair to say, this is a public space. It is owned by everyone. And therefore, we should respect the right of people to speak their mind about whatever topic they wish to talk about. But so moving on. Oh, by the way, don't forget that we are a call-in show. The number is on the screen. If you have anything you'd like to say, anything at all, whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us, please don't hesitate to call in. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to our next story here. This is actually a positive story about a pastor, and we don't normally say things nice about pastors, so I thought I might share it. This pastor gets it. Adam Hamilton, the senior pastor of the United Methodist Church of the Resurrection in Leawood, Kansas, said this about calls to put God back into school. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the Sandy Hook stuff and what happened there, and there has been a lot of rather disgusting cries for using that tragedy to push for you know, this happened because
agenda.
God isn't in school.
Right.
Well, this is what Adam Hamilton had to say about that. He said, "In America, our public schools are intended to be religiously neutral. Our teachers and schools are neither to endorse nor to inhibit religion. I believe this is a very good thing. When my kids were growing up, I wanted their teachers to teach them science, reading, math, and history. I also wanted them to care about my kids, but I did not want my children's public school teachers teaching them religion. That was my job as a parent and the job of our church, Sunday school, and youth group. If we're going to put God back in schools, which God are we talking about? Within the Christian family alone, there are often dramatically different ways of talking about God. Fundamentalists, conservative evangelicals, Pentecostals, charismatics, moderates, progressives, liberals, Calvinists, and Arminians, high church and low church, and those are just the Protestants. Add in Roman Catholics, either Eastern Orthodox, and a host of groups that are often said to be outside the mainstream, and you can begin to see the dilemma." He's got it absolutely right. It's so obvious, and it's so hard to communicate this often with religious people about the separation of church and state. The separation of church and state protects all of us. It doesn't protect me. It doesn't protect you individually. It protects everybody. It means that you get to decide for your child or for yourself what you believe in. Your beliefs are not dictated to you by the state, and yes, the public school system is a state institution. And therefore, if your kids are going to public school, you actually should feel free to teach your child whatever you're going to teach them about religion. That's the beauty of the whole system. And I was really impressed. I read this the other day, and I was really impressed this guy got it right. And
you got to give kudos when kudos is deserved.
Exactly. Also recently, Representative Kirsten Sinema, the Democratic representative from a Democratic representative from Arizona, is the sole religiously unaffiliated member of Congress. And she was recently sworn in by the Speaker of the House. And, you know...
On a law book.
Well, no, it's on a book. It is on a book. The book is not a Bible, which I thought was rather wonderful. The book is a copy of the Constitution. She swore to uphold the Constitution on a copy of the Constitution instead of on the Bible. Now, I think that's wonderful. I think that's fantastic.
Is that a first that we've had that, or has that been done before?
That has been done a couple of, well, there are a few politicians throughout American history that have said that they were not going to swear in on the Bible. But right now, she is the only officially unaffiliated member of Congress. And she, although she doesn't like to be called an atheist, even though she is one.
I wonder why that is, though. It just,
you know,
political reasons, you think, or
I think it may be political reasons. But I was reading another article, which I don't have in front of me, where she essentially was saying that she sees a negative connotation of the word atheist, and what she said, and this is a downside, and this is something that I don't like very much, is that she essentially said that she implied that it was morally, that there were some moral issues with atheism, and that she didn't want to, you know, the way she put it was kind of, it kind of put down atheists, but but there are some people who do not believe in God, who do not like the word atheist, and they're very public about it, and it's unfortunate. I think that there's nothing wrong with the word atheist, that it is a word that has one definition about one thing, and that every other definition that you put on that word is redefining the word to mean something it isn't. It's like saying, you know, there's a definition for the word Christian. The definition of the word Christian is someone who believes that Christ died for your sins.
Yes.
Right. Adding, you know, if you fit that category, you are a Christian. It's not appropriate to say that person is not a Christian because they do not believe other dogma, you know.
All that infighting that they love to get into over, like, splitting hairs and things.
Right.
Should you baptize, you know, by dunking, or should you, like, sprinkle? These little things that they get all upset over.
Right. With the same thing as an atheist, you know, with atheism, and an atheist is one definition. A person who does not believe in at least one God. Period. One definition, very simple. It's not even when we're talking about an agnostic. An agnostic claims that to not have knowledge about God, and there's that difference in connotation between the word belief and the word knowledge. One is a stronger claim, what they call an epistemological claim. The agnosticism is an epistemological claim that is claim the knowledge, but atheist is a claim to belief. You can be an agnostic atheist. You can say, I don't believe in God, but I don't know for certain. You know, that is a valid statement to make. And I don't call myself an agnostic atheist. I do call myself a Gnostic atheist. I know there is no God. I feel comfortable making that statement. But there are the people who have different opinions about that. So, like I said, so if you do not have a belief in God, you are an atheist, whether you call yourself that or not. It's that simple.
Well, some people like the words humanist, free thinkers, skeptic. They all kind of dance around.
They answer different questions, though. Well, at least humanist does. Humanist humanism is a specific morality. It is a philosophical structure about how one should live their life. Now that can be added to atheist. You know, you can say, I am a humanist atheist, or I am a humanist agnostic atheist. And you can be all three. Because you can hold that philosophical position that holds humanity to that moral standard that humanism provides. You can say, I believe in humanism as the best ethical system, you know.
So when someone says they're a secular humanist, is that saying they're an atheist humanist, or
well,
is there
secular has another term. Usually the answer is yes.
Okay.
But secular is an interesting term in and of itself. Secular, you know, people say I'm a secular American. And what secular has to do is referring to a government without theism.
Okay.
So
it's basically a government thing then.
Yes,
okay.
it is basically a viewpoint on government. To say,
okay.
I'm a secular American, I believe that government should not have religion in it. Okay, that is what it means to be secular. Now, a lot of people use the terms secular and atheist interchangeably, but that's not strictly accurate.
So tell me, could somebody be a secular Christian? Is that possible?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew that.
In fact, there is a coalition out there who I'm involved with, the Secular Coalition for America.
Okay.
That group isn't strictly non-theist or non-believer. That they have humanistic Judaism and a few other.
Yeah, I've heard of that humanistic Judaism and stuff.
And a few other belief structures that may include a deity, but every organization involved in the Secular Coalition for America does strictly believe in a strict separation of church and state. And that's what it means to be secular.
Okay. Learn something new every day.
In Indiana, the state senator Dennis Cruz, a Republican, proposed a bill to recite the Lord's Prayer in public schools.
Oh, I heard about that one. It was make it mandatory. Is that mandatory that the Lord's Prayer be?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
And you could opt out, apparently, from what I heard. That,
yeah,
they could go in another room or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be standard. Obviously, this has already been to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. There's no way that's going to go anywhere.
This is American atheists, Madeline Murray O'Hare fought this in the 60s. You know? It's been done. This is
pretty much a closed case, isn't it? It's not, you know.
Anyway, the bill went nowhere because it was blatantly unconstitutional. A couple of weeks later, he sponsored a bill that would promote creationism in science class.
Of course.
And the state Senate Education Committee voted 8-2 in support of the bill. Again, it ultimately didn't get passed because it's blatantly unconstitutional.
But the fact that people voted 8-2 in favor.
Well, the committee, there's an education committee that's the subcommittee for.
But they voted in favor of the creation being added.
Apparently, it's a strong Republican. It's Indiana. So.
Oh, well.
There wasn't even it was funny. The Senate president, who's a Republican from Fort Wayne, David Long, assigned it to the Senate's Rules and Legislative Procedure Committee, often a burial ground for bills. It's where bills go to die.
Okay.
And he said, my initial instincts were that it was probably unconstitutional. And he's an attorney.
Yeah, his initial instincts. That doesn't say much. That doesn't inspire confidence in me with this gentleman.
Yeah.
His initial instincts, and he's a lawyer.
Then he says the Senate legal staff. He said the Senate legal staff agreed. It's a clear violation of the interpretation of the First Amendment by the United States Supreme Court. Long said. He said it's not a personal opinion on my part. Okay. So to recap, he starts out trying to introduce the Lord's Prayer.
Mm-hmm. Then
he tries to get creationism in school. Then he tries to put it back through again, the Lord's Prayer.
He has to be doing this for political brownie points. Because he has to know there's no way that's going to go through. He has to know that.
Yeah, I don't
can't
understand.
mandate the Lord's Prayer. I don't know what to say about that. It's just so blatantly, involving religion in public schools. But the thing is, I mean, I'd love to know what was his reasoning behind that. Why do we need to recite the Lord's Prayer in public schools? Was it because, to prevent massacres like in Connecticut, supposedly, because we took God out of school? And
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but I will say that actually was, after the massacre happened, I heard people say over and over and over again that it is because we took God out of schools. And honestly, it's such a vile thing to say.
And it's an extremely stupid thing to say.
Well, true. But, I mean, if you presume for a moment that God is so vindictive, this good, all-loving, all-powerful God that Christians believe in, that he's going to pick a random public school 50 years after, school prayer has been taken out of the schools. He's going to take a random public school and kill 20 elementary school kids to make a point about whether God should be in school or not. I mean, that God, if you believe in that God, you are a psychopath.
That kind of God is a monster.
Right.
That would stand back. Think of what people are assuming here. They're saying that if they had prayer in school, then all of a sudden God would somehow protect these kids. But if you look at the Nickel Mines murders, where these Amish girls were gunned down, I'm sure they started every day with prayer. They're a religious school. It's a religious community. That did not prevent some gunman from going there and killing them.
Right.
So the whole idea, the whole premise that is completely crazy to say that, if only we had prayer in school, that this wouldn't happen, as if somehow God himself is going to come down and stand at the door of the school and stop people. It's not realistic. And I think people are just grasping at straws, just trying to find a reason. For people who are theists, they have to come up with some reason as to why this happened.
Right.
A person who is a non-believer can say, this was a horrible tragedy, and it happened because there are sick people in this world.
Right.
But theists have an extra burden. They have to come up with an excuse as to why these innocent children were killed. And so it's like, you can't blame God, obviously.
Right.
So we prevented God, we prevented the all-powerful creator of the universe from somehow intervening to save these children because we did not allow them to pray.
Right.
And the fact is, they can pray. You can't just have a public thing. You can't have the teacher saying we're going to pray. Children can and do pray in school every day. You can bring your Bibles and you can bring rosaries and you can wear a yarmulke. You can do anything. You just can't have it public. You can't have it over the public address system.
And you can't disrupt class.
You can't disrupt classes. So to say that God is taking out school is complete nonsense.
Right.
It's complete and utter nonsense. And people who say that we should push this are basically people who either don't know any better or they have an agenda, a theocratic agenda.
Speaking of theocratic agendas, Jackson Middle School in Jackson, Ohio, in a lot of schools you see pictures of students who've done great things, sports moments, things, all sorts of things that the school wants to honor, that they feel is important. And in Jackson, Ohio, they have a giant portrait of a head of Jesus Christ. Let me correct myself. It's a portrait of an Aryan gentleman who is an idealized version of what white European religious people think Jesus Christ might have looked like.
It is amusing. I will say one thing about the picture. It's the first time I'm looking at this. First, the picture, at least he doesn't have blonde hair, right?
It's got the blonde highlights.
Oh, he's got the highlights. Well, he's got the highlights. Well, that helps. But it's not like platinum blonde, like I've seen some that I call it surfer Jesus or Scandinavian Jesus. Who
well, this guy could be Scandinavian. He's got a lot of the Viking.
He does. He just. It's that European looking. I mean, I sometimes wonder, if you don't really see too many pictures of what Jesus would actually really look like, the swarthy skin and dark hair and stuff,
wiry hair.
I think a lot of times it wouldn't go over too well with certain members of the white community.
That's true.
Because when I was growing up, I actually had, we had, in the church I went to, we had study guides for the Bible, and in it, and especially in this one text, we had Surfer Jesus. It was, all the pictures were blonde hair, blue eyed. And even as a child, I knew that people in that part of the world did not look Scandinavian.
Right.
You know, those creamy white skin and everything. But it was it was just insane that they would do this.
You know, they took it a little bit further when I was in the youth group and Sunday school and stuff like that. You know, all of the instruction books, you had these happy families learning at Jesus' feet, you know, all the children and all, you know, and so they're all sitting there at Jesus' feet, all happy and smiles and all that other stuff. And, you know, every single one of them is white and blonde and
rosy-cheeked.
Rosy-cheeked, looking just like, you know, your happy, classic 50s American family.
Yes.
You know,
Ozzie and Harriet just sitting there at Jesus' feet.
Right. And Jesus with a big old smile on his face.
Of course.
But yeah, so they have a portrait at this middle school of Jesus, of the classic Jesus, and the FFRF is fighting to have it taken down. And they're arguing that anybody who saw this picture would reasonably think the school was promoting Christianity.
Which is true. It is obvious.
Yeah.
But didn't they say that didn't they use the tradition argument?
Yes, they did.
Yes, of course. So we've had it there for years.
The school thinks that their actions are perfectly legal. I personally don't believe that we are in violation of the Constitution, Superintendent Howard said. That picture was donated or presented to the district by the High Y Club students. I don't know what that means. And has been hanging in that building since 1947. I have done some research, and because it was a student-led presentation, it is permissible as far as I'm concerned, which is completely incorrect.
It is.
There's no reason to believe that it would go through. Remember that a U.S. district judge ruled a display at Cranston High School West in Rhode Island. This was a big one. Jessica Alquist is a pretty big name in our community. She's a very young, brave student who took on
I remember
the school district about a huge school prayer plaque they had, and it went to the U.S. District Court, and they ruled it unconstitutional. And they used the exact same argument. The school district in that case used the exact same argument. It's tradition to break the law.
No one has challenged it till now.
Yeah. I hate to break it to you, but tradition is no excuse for breaking the law. It does not matter how long people have been breaking the law. If they continue to break the law, they are liable for their actions. You don't just, you could be part of a community murdering somebody once a week. Because you've done it for 50 years doesn't make it okay.
Well, see, like with Jim Crow laws, you could have a business that says they don't serve blacks, and they say, well, we've done it like this for 100 years.
Right.
It's like, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter that you've done this for 100 years. It's against the law to discriminate like that. You cannot do that. I don't know why people don't understand that. And another thing, they say that this, it just was given to them. I wonder if student had donated a huge picture of Vishnu.
Right.
Would they have been so eager to put it in a prominent place and say, oh, this has nothing to do with religion, and someone just donated this? And
right.
I don't think so. I think people would have been very upset. The parents would have been furious. But because it's a picture of Jesus, therefore it's okay. And it isn't okay.
Some people would say it's Christian privilege. The idea that because you're a Christian and you're in what you consider to be a Christian nation, which it's not, that your religion's okay and no one else's is. And that's ridiculous, That's why discrimination laws exist. That's why, we come here every 2 weeks to talk about this stuff. You know, people should understand that they live in a community that has people who believe in all sorts of religion and none at all. And the best way for everybody to get along is to understand that we have the rights to our own expression, but government does not have a right to free speech. And when you're acting in your job on behalf of the government, you represent the government in the United States. And that is if you want to call anything sacred, that's sacred at that point. You are working on behalf of the people, the people of this country. And in that, you have to step back and you have to, in your job, you know, the rest of us, when we're employed by employers, we don't have a right to free speech. As an employee, you can't go to your boss and tell your boss what you think of him. You can, and expect to keep your job more often than not.
Yeah, you'd probably be fired.
Yeah, when you go out in public representing that company, you can't say things in public that are your own personal opinion that are contrary to what the message that the corporation wants to send. This is standard when you are speaking on behalf of a company, a corporation, another entity that you're being paid to represent.
Well, the military itself, you cannot go to a political rally in uniform and speak.
Right.
Because you're representing the U.S. military. And
right.
You cannot, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or whoever, you cannot do that. You'll get in trouble.
Yes. And so this is not unreasonable. This is the height of reason.
And also the argument that people use, they say, well, there's a Christian majority. And even if we did not have such laws in place, I would question people, say that as a Christian you lived in Dearborn, Michigan, which has a very high Muslim population, and say this was allowed. And in the public school, because there was a Muslim population, they had prayers to Allah every morning. And I would wonder how Christian parents would feel about that. I would dare say that they would be upset because they would feel that their child's being excluded.
Right.
And they would be. So that's why we don't allow things like that in public schools. And that's the whole word public means it's for everybody. It's not just for Christians. It's not just for Jews, Muslims, whatever. It is for everybody. So therefore, if we keep religion out of it, things will go much, much easier, whether it's like you're talking about the federal, state, or local government. Religion stay out of it, things will go much smoother.
All right. Well, next on our news, in our wacky Christian business owner segment, Hobby Lobby has declared that they're going to throw away $1,300,000 a day to make sure that their female employees cannot get the contraception that Obamacare allows for.
They're going to throw away all that money.
They're going to throw away $1,300,000 a day. Let me explain that again. A day. That's the fine for not providing the health coverage, the minimum health coverage limitations of Obamacare. That $1.3 million a day, rather than allow their female employees to get contraceptive care. I'm so shocked that I can't even I can't even get past that.
I can't imagine he's, or she or whoever is CEO of this, is willing to lose that much money. It just boggles my mind that they are willing to lose that much money just because they're trying to make a point and they don't want their employees to have contraceptive coverage.
Right.
I don't understand that. I've never understood that employers seem to think they have the right to not have to pay for. I mean, what if your employer was a Jehovah's Witness who did not believe in blood transfusion?
Exactly.
And refused to pay for any blood transfusions your family may need. It's ridiculous. You can't, just because your employer has a moral disagreement with certain things like that, doesn't mean that they can impose it on you and say, well, I don't like it, so therefore I'm not gonna pay for it even though you're my employee.
So are you ready for what form of contraception they're upset with?
Drum roll. Okay, what form is it?
Emergency contraceptive.
Oh, emergency.
Because they believe it causes abortions.
Oh, I see. This is for rape victims and things.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. They want the company to be exempt from covering medical care. They believe, note, I said they believe. They believe. Causes abortion. Okay. Now, the attorney, the attorney sent out, the for Hobby Lobby set this statement out, and he said, there's a very important reason he put they believe in as part of this statement. And that is because he is directly aware that the drugs in question do not in fact cause abortion. Emergency contraception is just exactly that. It's contraception. It does not end or interfere with any existing pregnancy. Its sole job, what emergency contraception does, is prevent the sperm from, in fact, penetrating the egg. That's all it does. It prevents contraception. Now, conception, I mean. It prevents conception.
Okay.
Now, even the wackiest Christian usually starts off saying that life begins at conception.
Yes.
Now, we're talking at preventing conception.
Right.
Which, by Christian definition,
is not
life. But because they do not want to even think that in some wacky world where doctors don't exist and the Bible informs your entire morality about the world around you, that this causes abortions. And that's the whole issue. The fact is that we either believe, we have to believe as a public, as people who are commenting on this situation, we have to believe one of two things. First, either Hobby Lobby's owners truly believe something that is medically and factually untrue, completely counterfactual to reality, okay? Mm-hmm. Or it's more important to screw over women.
So they're either misogynist or stupid.
Right.
Okay, there's your choice.
Yes. It's insane, and they're willing to pay over $1 million a day.
It's a big chunk of change
to do it. You know, I'm going to quote the Friendly Atheist who I'm skimming through their article to share this information. I just want to give them credit, give Hemant Mehta credit. But he says in his article, this is how warped the Hobby Lobby's owner's mindset is. If they think birth control kills a baby, then it kills a baby. No matter what the science says, they're going to pay a fine worth over $1 million per day to make sure their delusions, and let's be real here, this is a delusion.
It is.
Aren't overruled by the government. If you ever wanted proof that religion is bad for women, look no further. I can't disagree with Hemant.
It's a crazy thing because, as you pointed out, life has not formed. It's just been prevented from being formed. So there's no abortion. So therefore, why are you upset? Why are they upset? I don't understand. So either they don't understand science, but then again, I mean, maybe they don't. I mean, look at Todd Aiken. He went around and said that, that rape sperm is somehow special because the female body has a way to shut that all down if it's a rape.
Yes.
And he was on the science committee, by the way, but, he said that, and it boggles my mind. It's because it's so completely inaccurate. And I think Todd actually believes it.
Yeah.
God actually believes that. Oh, it's rape. So,
but he's not alone either.
Oh,
There was a
others.
judge out in California who recently, and I don't have this up in front of me. I'm just playing off what you're saying, but who recently told a woman that I don't believe you when you say that you were raped because your body should have shut that down. They say a penis, it cannot penetrate a woman's body if she's actually being raped.
I've heard that old saying that you can't thread a moving needle.
Right.
I've heard that old expression. Yeah. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But I've heard that old expression. It's like, well, you can't really be raped, if you don't want to be raped. It's so ludicrous and so offensive. I can't say the words I'd like to say on camera.
You can't say that on television.
I can't say there's certain words you can't say about how you feel on certain things because you'll get in trouble. But yeah, it's sort of a wacky world out there. The people will believe things even though science says that's not true, and they will stick with it. And I don't understand why, even if I honestly believed that the emergency contraceptives caused abortion, somebody told me, oh, here's the proof, it doesn't. I think if I was a reasonable person, I would change my mind. If I believe that, I'd say, oh, it doesn't? Well, then I can't really object to that because it doesn't do it. That's what they say. But if I was the type of person that so many seem to be that would say, even if they told the facts, say, no, this does not cause abortion, they still say, oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. I know that because they told me at church that it does. Right. It's like, no. No,
yeah, it's absolutely insane. And, it's funny because, I've seen, and this may be a part of, there's an effect that's been described in the media where when somebody says a really wacky thing and people catch wind of it, the media has this tendency to then look all over the country for examples of that thing and start reporting on it. So this may be an extension of that effect. And I only bring that up because, we are the Free Thought Forum, so we want to be aware of our own biases and, our own concerns so that we're not misrepresenting ourselves here. So this may not be a wave of misogyny and idiocy, although it's slightly more terrifying if it's not a wave, that it's just an observation that is taken in micro of a situation that has been going on for a very long time. That's somehow more terrifying than just magnifying it and looking at it, at this point in time. But still, I've seen a wave of conservative, religiously conservative, rape-based insanity. Ideas about rape that are just unconscionable. I mean, crazy.
Very much so.
I totally don't understand it. Our program is going to be coming to a close soon. We still have some time, though, if you're interested in calling in and talking about any of these topics that we've discussed today. The number, again, is on your screen. Please feel free to call in, and we'd be happy to talk to you. I just wanted to make a reminder of that.
Oh, along the same lines about the inside, like with global warming, there are so many people who deny global warming, even though scientists overwhelmingly say it's happening.
Yeah. And I find it interesting, and I wonder sometimes about how much religious aspect it is and how much of a corporate wishful thinking using the religious aspect. You know what I mean?
I think they work together quite a bit because corporations would fight against the whole idea of global warming because they know that means they have to, install new equipment and stuff to help clean the air and things. And I think religious people, as one person who used to believe in the old end time prophecies, conservative religious people are deeply, deeply paranoid about government. They believe in the Antichrist. They believe the UN is going to take over, and anything that has to do with anything global, seriously, it drives them crazy. They, you know, I've read comments on Christian sites and things where this talks about that this is all a plot to take over the country, to impose socialism and all this. It's just nonsense. It's paranoid nonsense. But there are people who honestly believe this, and it's almost like cottage industries out there going around saying that, you know, this is a plot. This is a plot. And then, of course, they had to throw Obama in this. Obama's plot to help take over America, so you have a one-world government. And it's that way with everything, even the Disabilities Act that they shot down recently. It was our act that said all we want to do is get our policies to help the disabled worldwide. That's all it was. It was our own policies. But because it was for the UN, suddenly the crazies, like Rick Santorum, started jumping on this, saying that, oh, this means that the UN is going to come in and tell you how to take care of your kids.
Right.
That's what this means. You know, it's like, no, it doesn't. And you have this paranoid craziness on the right that is astounding.
Yeah, I think there's a block of, you know, credulous people.
Yeah. It's a big block. Of
that I think, you know, we wrap that discussion around religion a lot, saying, you know, if you believe in religion and you're primed to believe in, you know, first you get primed to believe in Santa Claus, and then you get primed to believe in Santa Claus for big people, and God, and once you're primed to just uncritically look at the world that way, that it makes it easier to believe other wacky things. You know, look for patterns and conspiracies and stuff like that simply aren't there. You know, and you know, if science threatens religion, then it's easy to believe that scientists are engaged in some global conspiracy to mislead us about the environment, even though any credible any person who looks at it skeptically looks at, you know, knows about how scientists are independent, and you know they don't.
Well, it's the whole idea that scientists worldwide are like on the phone with each other talking and say, hey, you know what we should do? We're trying to get this one world government in, and you know, I want you to say that there is global warming. It's like this big conspiracy. It's like any type of conspiracy where, you know, when they had with Timothy McVeigh, when he blew up, was it the Murrow building?
The Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma City. And there were conspiracies that said that the ATF was actually behind this. And on that day, all the ATF workers called off. Now, if you really believe that, I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, that people would think that others would go along with this. Like if I worked for the ATF and they came to me and they said, you know what, you don't come to work tomorrow because we're going to blow this building up and kill a bunch of people, so don't come here tomorrow. I would report this. I would say, this is insane. What, are you going to blow up a building? And that's what some people think. Like, all these people get together who are completely heartless and they don't care, and it's all for you know, some greater cause or whatever. But it's not based in reality. People don't act that way. You don't have a worldwide community of scientists who are wringing their hands in some sort of conspiracy to take over.
With the white cat. You need the white cat.
The white cat,
yeah,
you know.
It's gotta, you gotta have the white cat.
White cat, with the white coat, you know, the white cat. But when you get into these kind of craziness, and you want to inject some rational thought into this and say, now stop, sit back and think about this. Do you really, really believe this? It goes even back, the Obama is a Kenyan conspiracy. You actually have to believe that somehow the entire U.S. government, like with the CIA, FBI, you know, Customs Agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, they somehow missed the fact that the president was born in Kenya.
Right.
And if there was evidence that he was, don't you think the Republican Party could use this to impeach him?
Right.
And why don't they then, you know? And it's all these things. It's like, sometimes I want to shake people by the shoulder and say, use some common sense. Sit down and actually think about this. Does it make sense? You know, conspiracy theories just usually don't even work out because somebody talks. That's how crimes get solved. You have these people conspiring to kill somebody, and someone blabs at a bar. Yeah, old Joe just off so-and-so, and, you know, and then they get caught. To have conspiracies on a worldwide scale is impossible. You just can't do that.
Well, even on a more local, you know, there's all kinds of 9/11 conspiracies.
Oh, yes.
You know? And I'm going to just pick one of them that is my favorite to point at. You know, there's this conspiracy that the news media was made aware of 9/11 beforehand by the government, and that's proof that the government, you know. Since when has the news media needed to be informed by anything? And if the news media was actually informed by the U.S. government that something big was going to happen, you don't think that they would bust that story wide open?
Yeah.
You know, that they would say, oh, wait, the government is trying to conspire with us to kill 2,000 or 3,000 Americans. Because that would make sense, right? You know, but then you realize that, you know, the news media actually tends to get involved whenever there's something big going on. It's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's you know, the first plane hits the tower, then all of a sudden, okay, let's go focus on, we've got, you know, film coverage of everything.
Yeah, we're watching all this.
Yeah, so of course there's going to be live film of the second, you know, it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, to think that they were going to, like, ignore this. It's like, oh, a big plane just flew into the tower. Oh, well, no big deal. You know, what else is going on?
Right.
No, they're all there. They're all surrounding it because it's a news.
And it's downtown New York. You know, there isn't a section of downtown New York that does not have a camera on it somewhere. You know,
it just amazes me.
Yeah.
That somehow these conspiracy theories, and they all knew about it, and they're all in on it, and like it was a controlled demolition for these.
Yeah, oh my God!
Like people actually. I mean,
it's funny. You know, they talk about the temperature that steel melts, and you know, yes, steel melts at a certain specific temperature. That's absolutely correct.
It is.
You know?
And didn't get that hot, but.
However, you know, it gets soft.
Yes, it gets soft. It weakens.
At much lower temperatures. So interestingly, steel that gets soft, it bends. And unfortunately, when it bends, it can cause structural failure because it's not designed to, on a regular basis,
have
planes fly into it. So yes, there's a lot of crazy conspiracies out there, but here's the thing, and this is I think a lasting tip before I say goodbye. If you ever find something that doesn't sound quite right, go out on Google and search for it with the word conspiracy or debunked or skepticism.
Or go to Snopes.
Or go to Snopes and read the other side of the story. Because, you know, when you see something that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The old adage holds true. Well, we're coming to the end of our program for today. Please, next Tuesday, January 22nd at 6 p.m., please rejoin us on this channel. We'll have another episode of the Free Thought Forum. In the meantime, I've been your host, Brian Fields. And
I'm Rick Wigton.
And I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope you join us in 2 weeks. We really appreciate having you. And check out our website, panonbelievers.org. We have a lot of information in there. Right now we're doing our membership drive. We have a lot of stuff going on, so please check us out. We're also on Facebook. The URLs have been going up the entire program. There you go.